A warm welcome to all of you that you are watching Luntha television right now, and welcome to this special program that comes to you every Sunday evening, the Synodality. And in today's program, you are with me. As usual, we normally have Father Andrew Kaufa, but today we are pleased to have another guest in the program. So we are now three in our program. As I said, my name is Joseph Manoka. Welcome. And so allow me now to welcome my two guests and I'll allow them to introduce themselves. They are smiling at me. Oh, we should start. Ladies first. Ladies first. May I know the lady who has joined us in the program this time?
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you. I'm Sister Jacinta. Of course, I'm a Kenyan, and I'm, of course, working in Kenya and working with a Messiah. I'm pleased to join you today in this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also in our program, we also have
Father Andrew Kaufa. I am a communications coordinator at Messiah Secretariat. So I'm based in Nairobi, but I come from Malawi. Thank you.
Karibu. Yeah, I know a bit of Kiswahili here and there. So, but Sister Jacinta is well conversant with Kiswahili. All right. So this is the program that comes to you on Lunta Television. In the last two episodes, we have had Father David Nwagaba who was hosting the program, and today it's a privilege that I'm the host of the program. So maybe for the sake of those that have just joined us and are watching the program for the first time, it's better to have the recap and at least to have a brief background on why we are here this evening. Over to you, Father Andrew.
Thank you very much, Joseph. As you are aware, we are now in the implementation phase of the Synod on Synodality. In practice, the Synod ended, was closed by Pope Francis in October 2024. But in March 2025, before he got sick, he had instructed the General Secretariat in the Vatican that he wants this period between 2025 and 2028 to be a moment of implementation, and that instead of each conference or diocese doing it on their own, it should be a coordinated phase as well, whereby we share what is happening in view of implementing what came out as a fruit of the Synod on Synodality. Now, what we have been doing so far has been to reflect and discuss the content in the official report or document that came out at the end of that Synod. So we did the last 2 weeks a discussion on two important chapters in this book. The first part was to establish an understanding of synodality. When we talk about synodality, what is it about? What's the root of synodality? What's the heart of synodality? So there were 3 points that were emphasized during that discussion, that program, for you who were or who participated. The first one was the point that baptism is the foundation where all of us as baptized people, we are called to journey together in companion as people of one faith, as brothers and sisters of equal dignity in the church. That was the first point. The second point that came out very strongly in the document is that synodality must not be seen as a program. We have programs of justice and peace. We have programs of CADECOM and so many other programs the church is running. Synodality is not a program. It's actually a style of being church, a new way of being church. So it's about our way of life as Catholics. The third point that came out very strongly in the first part is that when we talk about synod, we are looking at synod are focused on the mission which Jesus Christ left to his disciples. We read in Matthew chapter 28, where Jesus is instructing his disciples to go out and to evangelize and to baptize. So when we talk about synodality in the context of the mission of Jesus Christ, it means we are asking ourselves, how can we journey together as baptized people in the task of evangelizing the people of God, in spreading the gospel? So basically, these 3 points marked the discussion in our first program 2 weeks ago. Now, the following week, which was last week, Sunday, we now focused on the second topic in this book on the final document on synodality, where the title was The Conversion of Relationships. On the boat together, now focusing on conversion of relationships. And what were the key points in this chapter? What are the key points in this chapter? One is the fact that although we are all members of one church, our history for the last 2,000 years of Christianity has shown that actually, in reality, we haven't really journeyed well together. Some relations were broken. There were some tensions between one group and another. There were some divisions in some occasions maybe between the priests, maybe between the priests and the Christians, maybe between the religious men and women and the bishop, maybe between the bishop and the pope. So we are reaching a point where we are evaluating ourselves and say, how can we improve? So the conversion here is a requirement for us to mend those relations which were broken or which were not working well within the church. So the first point that the document says is that we need to be humble and acknowledge that in the process of journeying together, we have wounded one another. Some of the Catholics are not happy the way they have been treated. Some Catholics, they felt they are not really recognized, fully accepted as members. We gave the example of single mothers who came up very strongly, like in the Jumuias, in small Christian communities. You find that they are sidelining us when they are doing elections because they say, oh, she's a single mother. Oh, that one is not a full Catholic. Look, she doesn't receive communion and the like. So there are members who are in the church but disgruntled. They feel marginalized. And we need to do something about that. And then the next point was also the fact that in the church, sometimes we only recognize one or two gifts. Of course, me, I'm a priest, and I know that whenever we are journeying as priests, people recognize us very quickly and people respect us very quickly. And what we say, people will always take it seriously.
And you believe it.
And they believe it. But then there are lay people who are equally baptized and they are doing a lot for the church. Are they recognized? Is what they are contributing being recognized by the church? So you see that there were concerns that we are all, yes, members of the same church, but seems some have more authority, have more recognition than other members. So the question is, how can we journey together and appreciate the fact that our differences, actually diversity brings beauty in the church? Sisters are doing their own things. The priests are doing their part of the mission. Brothers are doing their part of the mission. And then women are doing their part as a Catholic Women Association, the same with men. And then the bishops also, when they meet as a conference of bishops, they are playing their role, each one bringing in their dimension of being missionary, so to say. So that point was also discussed at length. And finally, it was the question of leadership, where the document has shown the synod taught us that while we say that we model the leadership in the church in the image of Jesus, who taught us to become servants to one another by giving us that symbol of the washing of the feet. Actually, some people, some Christians, when they are in leadership, they perform just as bad as some politicians. The question of power, the question of money, and there's so many other things that taint the image of Christian leadership. So when we talk about conversion, the synod is asking us to say, can we acknowledge these mistakes and work on improving on how the church can do for the third millennium am now going to the future. I think, Joseph, if we can say as a recap, as a summary of what we did for the last 2 weeks, that is where we stopped. And now we need now to go into the third chapter, which is telling us about the title is Cast the Net, the Conversion of Processes. And in my understanding, this part focuses now on if we have to journey together, how do we journey together? And then there are so many other areas that we are supposed to discuss today. Unless you have any question, or if you let me stop there for a while.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much, Father Andrew, for the recap. At least you have managed to explain to us and for those that have missed the 2 episodes. So I was quite clear on what you have said, and I've listened tentatively with Sister Jacinta there. Now, maybe before we go into today's topic, based on what has been explained from you, Sister Jacinta, being one of the journalists who is also in charge of the Messiah Online, how can we twin the two uh, in context of what we are discussing and looking at the synodality in the Messiah region?
Okay, as a communicator and one who ensures that message reaches to people wherever they are, it is right now, it is a job, or rather our task as communicators, to ensure that this document, as per the first session that has Father Kaufa has recapped what has been done the first 2 sessions. As communicators, it is now our role, it is our duty to ensure that what has been said here, not everybody is going to get it. Not everybody is going to understand what is expected of him or her. But through communication, through the use of other
Social media
social media platforms,
platforms,
we
yes.
are now to make it even simpler for people in the way that they can understand it, and in a way that we can reach different groups, because different platforms reach different people, use different platforms for communication. So that is now our great role, that however much it has been explained here, only some few audience will get the information. So through communication, we go now further using different platforms to communicate the same on how each person can be brought on board.
Thank you very much. And I like the last part you have put it that we need to come together and bring everyone on the board. I'm looking at the example that Father Kaufa gave us about the minority in our church. For example, the single mother, you see that people, they castigate them, they don't feel like they're part and parcel of the church. But with what Father Andrew Kaufman has said, and even you, Sister Jacinta, indeed, we need to put all of us together to journey together in this faith and this synodality. Thank you very much, Sister Jacinta and Father Andrew. Now, I'm looking at today's topic, the episode that we are to tackle. We are focusing much on the cast the net, the conversion of the process connection. So the document says discrimination requires interior freedom from the personal interest. How do we practically achieve this in parish council meetings or in a family decisions, whereby when you talk of an Africa, you say the father is the head of the family. When you talk of the parishes, they say the priest, I'm the head of this parish. So whatever I say, that's the final say. So basically, when you look at the two, how are you going to to look at it? So we start with you, Father Andrew, then Sister Jacinta will chip in if you want to make a comment based on that. I'm sure I've managed to get you are able to get what I want to find out from you, Father Andrew.
Yes, I think actually that's the gist of the story in the third chapter of the document. I'll just introduce it, but the sister will come in and explain more in details. If you look at the document very closely, especially I think it's number 79, not number 79, yes, number 79. It is basically telling us that one area which can help us really to journey together and make sure that there's nobody dominating or domineering the way you have put it, like in a family, is to look at the processes of decision making in the church, to look at processes of accountability in the church, but also to see how we do evaluations of how we are running our church, so to say. So by looking at these three areas, how we make the decisions, you see that the church is trying to tell us that maybe the way we were doing in the past, that maybe one person makes a decision on behalf of the diocese, on behalf of the parish, on behalf of the small Christian community. That is wrong. There must be a process which is inclusive to make sure that every baptized person can say that I was consulted and I'm part of the decision. We also, if questions of finances, there have been Christians who have been complaining, we contribute in our parish, I contribute to our small Christian community. What the chairman does with the money, I don't know. You see,
The issues of accountability.
yes, this is Synod is saying there should not be any occasion where only one person is receiving and knows what he is doing with the resources of the church. Every baptized member must know, and the people who are using this money or handling these resources must be held accountable. Then finally, it's not enough to have a person to say we have a parish priest or we have a chairman of our small Christian community, and
Christian
then
community.
it runs for 2 years or 3 years, or a parish priest stays there for 5 years, and nobody evaluates how he or she is doing. There must be a point where Christians should say, is this person doing well? Is he doing the way we wanted them to do? So these sections are all responding to the question which you have raised. Maybe, Sister, I'll leave it to you. If you can take us through, I think, those two, that point. How is the church explaining that point of what it calls
Practical.
ecclesial discernment, and how to go about it?
Okay, in my understanding, as per this document, this synodal document, ecclesial discernment is calling each and everyone in the church to listen to each person before making a decision. As we have said previously, that the church used to make decisions uh, depending on who is in the hierarchy. But now, as we are being asked to look around now, make change our way of thinking. How are we going to listen to each and every person so that all the decisions are brought are understood, each person's decision is understood? The document gives us an example using the Jerusalem model. And this Jerusalem model, it talks about collective decision making. When we see what happened with the early Christians, they put everything together and they allowed the Holy Spirit to guide them before making the decision. And this is what we are asked to do, that we listen with all our senses. And listening with all our senses it is a holistic approach. That means we have our intuition, we have our imagination, the physical senses, emotional senses, all this. We have to listen with all that so that as we make a decision by the end of it, we will not say that, no, it was an imagination only. No, but that imagination was combined with emotional senses and rational senses so that it may come, we come together. Besides, it is also a spiritual practice. Uh, as Father said earlier, the parish priest, the bishop, the leader of the parish council doesn't just make a decision without that spiritual discernment. So it is also a spiritual practice. The if you look at is it number 82, it tells us that ecclesial discernment, it is not just an organizational technique, but now this is where you bring in the spiritual aspect of it. So when more people are heard or rather listened to in the church, then we make more rich decisions. And again, we are told that God speaks to us, each person. As the baptized, God is speaking to each one of us. But how does God talk to us? The synodal document points out that in number 83, that God speaks to us in various ways, through prayer, through meditation, through the liturgy that we have almost every day in the Catholic Church, through listening also to to the traditions and the magisterium. God speaks to each and every person. And so we are all a gift to the church. And that is why this ecclesial discernment, we bring all our gifts together as individuals to make the decision. When I move further to number 84? Number 84 now explains to us the various steps on how we are to come up with this decision. If we, after listening to each and every person, now what are these steps on how we are supposed to make the decision? Now, this one I can even read so that I go step by step. One, we are told that there is clear setting out of objective of discernment and disseminating information and the means. What does that mean? Without an objective, it means each person will be thinking of anything uh, without a specific focus. So first of all, we must have an objective, even if we are in a parish setting. We want to come up with something, even if it is a project, there must be an objective towards that. So that as we think, as we listen to each other, we have a focus. Then giving sufficient time for prayer and preparation. Each person is given opportunity. As I've said, God speaks to us in different ways. God may speak to you through meditation. God may speak to me through maybe personal conscious. God may speak to me. So we have this time, each person also to take time and listen to what God is saying and what the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, is telling him or her. The next is that inner disposition of freedom regarding one's own interests, both personal and as a group. And this means that as I come up with what I have analyzed from my own listening and from the senses, remember I said that we have to use all our senses to listen. Whatever I've come up with and whatever you have come up with are all valid. You may not say that, oh, the way I've reasoned, that is not what the Holy Spirit has said. And maybe what you have said, that is it. And actually, I think that is what most of the time we have been doing, that if the person who is in hierarchy speaks, then it's like, okay, I think that is the final. But now we are being told in this step, whatever I bring out, whatever you bring out is valid. So after that, listening attentively again and respectfully to each person's voice. That means we will air out what we have come up with, and we are expected to listen, each person, listen to what the other person has said. We may find that from our sharing, we all had the same, almost something similar. We may have expressed it differently, but we could have something almost similar. But now listen to mine, and I also listen to yours. We listen to the entire group. And then the next step tells us searching for the widest possible consensus which will emerge when our hearts burn within us. Now, from our sharing, after I've given out my ideas, you have given out your ideas, the entire group, we have given out our ideas, however varied they are. Now, it is our time now to look at what is it that is emerging from our sharing, from our different voices. What is it that is emerging? Now, the leaders of the process formulate the consensus in such a way that allows the participants to say whether they recognize themselves in it or not. And so this means all of us, after we have come up with our decisions, still in our parishes, we have our leaders. We have the parish priest, we have the parish council members, we have the chair there. In the diocese, we have still the bishops. So after we have come up with all this that we have said, it is still their duty, it is their responsibility, because they have been given that task to come up now with what is it that the people are talking about. And each person is to find out, is my voice in what has been said? Because we can talk of so many things, and this can always be, you can always merge them and come up with something which is concrete that everybody will feel, yes, that is what we discussed. And this is what ecclesial discernment is talking about, where each person's uh, decision is valid and it is brought collectively and communally. Father Andrew, in case you have something to add on that, in respect to what I've said, then you can.
Yeah. Now you mentioned about the Jerusalem model, right? Basically, it's Joseph, if you remember Acts chapter 15, when the disciples started going out to preach, especially going to the pagan societies, and they started baptizing people there. Then there came an issue where the disciples were disagreeing. Some were saying, yeah, we can be baptized, but to become our Christians, to join us, they must be circumcised. And
Issues
then,
about culture.
yes, and then Paul says, no, but this Christianity has nothing to do with cultures. What we need to look at is the faith of the person, and then we move forward. After disagreeing and it was dividing the group, they said, why don't we have a meeting? So they called for the meeting in Jerusalem. Barnabas, Paul, from wherever they were evangelizing, they came together. And just as the sister said, it was very clear, why are we here? We are here because of the question one of circumcision. Should everybody be obliged to
To do
circumcision or
circumcision.
yeah, and then the other one, what about eating meat offered to sacrifice? So they discussed, and everybody who was going to that meeting knew the agenda. And as he said, as sister said, everybody had time to prepare, to think about it. This thing of maybe a parish priest calling for a meeting, for instance, I want you people, the parish council to come, and they are coming, they don't know what is the agenda.
Yes.
That would be the issue, that they are expected to say something. Sometimes people are kidnapped and they end up voting for a thing they don't understand.
They don't understand because they've just been like they have been ambushed.
Exactly, exactly. So the synod is saying that no, first thing is the very fact that they have a clear agenda. Secondly, they are clear that let people have enough information, enough time. But very interesting in relation to the question again, which you said at the beginning, is the fact that these meetings must be inclusive. So if you have a parish council, you have to ask yourself how many women are there, how many men are there, how many youth are there.
Even youth, yes.
Yeah. Otherwise,
So
if it's the men, it becomes a men's club. That's not a Catholic church.
it's a men's club now. Now, on that one, Father Andrew and Sister Jacinta, we will now, based on what you have said, we have to look now on issues on consultation and authority.
Yeah,
Because as you have mentioned, that there has to be that proper way of how we communicate on whatever we want to do. If you want to hold
yeah,
a meeting, whom are you inviting to attend the meeting, and what's the agenda? What is it all about? But now on that issue, it's all about the authority.
yeah,
Authority comes together with the consultation. So on that
yeah.
end, how do you balance the church teachings and that the bishop have a full authority with the call for meaningful consultation that can't
Mm,
be ignored?
yeah, yeah. Um, to go to the same document number, I think 18, having explained what Sister has said about the ecclesial discernment, and then the steps that we need to take. I think from number 87, the church, the document now explains that point. Why? I can give a background. When we were in Rome in 2023, October, when this point was being discussed about who makes decisions and the like, one person asked, when we say that everybody must be listened to and everybody must be involved in decision making, doesn't this in a way diminish the role of the bishop? Doesn't this diminish the role of the parish priest? What does the canon law say? Because the church has laws. I think it's at that point where, as the sister said, uh, the discussion during the synod was that, yes, everybody who will be affected by a decision, whether it's at parish level or diocesan level, must be consulted. But the church has people who have been given responsibility. And as sister said, when it comes to decision making in the diocese, at the end of the day, it's the bishop.
The
When it comes
bishops,
to
yes.
the parish, at the end of the day, it's the priest,
Parish
especially the
priest.
parish priest. He is personally responsible for decisions that are being taken. So the point that has to be made is that yes, he is the one who has to make the decision, but he has to make that decision in consultation with the people of God. So there shouldn't
Yes.
be an occasion where one person in leadership makes a decision without consultation. And I think during that time, they even made reference to what the church fathers were doing, how they were doing, and what people like Saint Basil and Saint Ignatius of Antioch said. Like one of the quotations from Ignatius said, "Nothing should be done without consulting with the bishop, and nothing should the bishop do without consultation with his priests, his deacons, and the people of God." What does the St. Ignatius say here? It means, yes, uh, us as Christians in the parish, we can't just take it on our shoulders and say, these are decisions we make. As a parish council, we have made a decision. It says, no, you make your decisions in consultation with your parish priest. At the same
Parish.
time, the bishop or the parish priest should also do the same. Consult with your people so that you journey together. Now, if you look at this document from number 87, as I said, it is giving very clearly the structures of decision making and the processes that should be taken and should be done. And you will notice that in this document, there is an explanation that, for instance, if I read the document itself, uh, it gives I've mentioned already about the authority of the bishop and also the authority of the parish priest. But now the question is, what should be the process for the people to reach a point where they can say they have consulted one another? So if you go further in number, I think it's number 91, 91 going forward, it is clearly saying that there must be processes. For instance, first of all, people must be prepared if they have to make a contribution on any topic where you want to make the decisions. And secondly, it says you must involve each and every voice. Now, as we said before, in our church, we have priests, religious, we have priests, diocesan. We have religious men, we have religious women. We also have brothers. The marists are brothers, they are not priests. Then we have, as you said, the women, the youth.
The youth.
All these are voices. What are the structures that are there to ensure that everybody in this structure is being consulted? So the church is putting it very clear that just like we know in our structures, we have different levels where people have to make decisions. Therefore, uh, in every level of decision making, the process must ensure that it is inclusive. So if you have a small Christian community in Pagadi where you are staying, in your leadership, How inclusive is it? Then you go to the church level. How inclusive is everybody represented in your church council? Then let's go to parish council. Let's go to deanery level. And finally, let us go to the diocese. People represented. During the synod, it became very clear that in many parishes, what they see, for instance, I'll give you an example, sister is here, was that usually when there are parish council meetings, the religious, especially women, sisters, and the brothers, they don't attend parish councils because they think that is to do with the priest and
The
his,
executive.
his executive. This is nothing to do with that. But you are serving the same people. Some are coming to your hospital, some are coming to your school, the same people. You meet on Sunday. And then when things are happening, you say, no, for us, we are
You
here
say
to
we are not part of it.
are not part of that. He's saying this is not on. And no wonder times come when now those type of people come and say, we hear it has been decided by the parish council or by the parish or by the bishop, ABC, and we were not consulted. Of course, you are not journeying together with your friends. So if really people have to journey together, then it must be that through that type of participation in those structures which the church has. So in short, what the document is insisting is that let us look at the decision-making processes and make sure that everybody is included in the process and make sure that our structures are really inclusive, everybody who is represented in that organization. So in short, I think what I would say again in reference to the first question which you said with regard to some cultures where only men would make decisions or only adults would make decisions. I
Like
think this
decisions.
document is clear and giving a clear direction and a new lifestyle in the church tradition, where everybody feels part of the decision.
All right. Thank you very much, Father Andrew. Based on what you have explained, you do see that we are talking of journeying together, working together, that everyone has to take part and play his role or her role uh, when running the parishes, the church. In short, I would say the church. But one of the issue in quotes that all this affects is the issue about financial aspect. You see that issues about money, Sister Jacinta is laughing at me. Issues about money has destroyed so many things and has failed even the church. So, now, on that one, issues about transparency challenges, the document calls for annual financial mission reports. What resistance might parishes face, and how can this be educational rather than threatening, saying, "Okay, this is the final say that I've said. We we need to follow in this way." And I'll use in quotes other parishes. I've visited some of the parishes. They say, "Okay, we'll not be announcing the Sunday collections. Instead, we'll just put it on a notice board." For those that have come to pray for us when coming out, you stop on the notice board and see how much you have contributed for this week. Is that normal? And how are you going? Should we deal about all these issues about challenges on financial aspect?
Sister, do you want to talk about it? About money.
Yes. So, Sister Jacinta, or you, or Father Andrew, who is going
Okay,
to?
transparency is being handled at different levels. One is the question of the finances and the resources. The other one is the issue of how we handle uh, cases of abuse, for instance. And I was saying that the issues of abuse have affected our church at different levels, maybe not to that big, high level in Malawi or in Africa, but in other parts of the world, issues of scandals of child abuse and the like have been very serious. So accountability also touches on that one, transparency touches on that as well. And then finally, in general, how we run our affairs. Now, going to the document, the same document, if you read number 95, it is reminding us that when we look at the first Christian community, the disciples of Jesus themselves, they had this culture of holding each other accountable. And he gives an example of chapter 11 of Acts, when Peter was asked to explain what he did when he went and he had baptized Cornelius and family. And everybody said, "What did you do there?" And he had to explain. It's the same in other parts in the letters of St. Paul. But interestingly, what is the meaning of transparency? What is the meaning of accountability? And why is it important at this time in the church? Now, 96 explains, it says, the synod process has connected transparency and accountability to words such as being truthful, such as loyalty, clarity, honesty, integrity, consistency, rejection of obscurity, where you don't want people to follow what you are doing, hypocrisy, then ambiguity, and absence of ulterior motives, where you see that some want to become leaders in the church, but not so much for the service, but they are looking at what is it
The
that I
leadership.
will benefit. Yeah. So the synod looked at that and they said, no, that's why we need to strengthen our structures or rather our tools of accountability and transparency. And it says, continues to say, when you put the systems that are transparent and people are held accountable, what does the church gain? What does the priest gain? What does the bishop gain? And it says there are two things. One, the Christians will trust their priest. The Christians will trust their bishop. Secondly, credibility. When people hear about money being stolen in a parish, in a church, in a way, it diminishes the good image of the Catholic Church. If people don't expect a priest or a chairman or a moderator of a parish council to steal or to help oneself from the resources which people are contributing. The problem which we have, and this is what the Synod said, is that it's not a general practice in the Catholic Church, the issues of accountability. And they are saying, probably that is why the issue of clericalism has come out very strongly during the Synod. I hope you understand, Joseph, the word clericalism.
Just explain a bit, Clarissa.
Throughout the synod, the word clericalism was referring to the practice where a priest makes decisions alone, where,
Being the hegemony.
where a priest makes decisions alone without consultation, where
Mm,
the priest carries himself in terms of power. So if a
mm, mm.
Christian goes and says, Father, is this money which was collected for this for construction of, say, a wall around our parish,
Our
but we are not
parishes.
part the wall making any progress. Where is the money? You see
Mm.
that the priest feels offended. Oh, so you think I've stolen the money and the like.
I have my money. I've been rich before becoming a priest.
Being a priest, and you can reach a point to say, I will remove you as a chairman because you cannot ask me those questions. So people have preferred as finance committee chair or as moderator and the like because they have been in conflict with the priest. Why? Because they were asked about one or another thing. Now, this issue became a serious complaint during the synod. But we are saying if you have systems in place, there should be no occasion where a priest should be handling the money and using the money without being held accountable. And that is why during the synod, it was strongly recommended the practice now of audit, that our parishes need to adopt a culture of auditing. Our parishes need to have strong finance committees where the finance committee is able to do things professionally without interference of the priest. A good example on that line is what here in Kenya has been done by the Archbishop of Nairobi, where it is put that after you have done all the elections, the parish council is in place. But when you appoint the finance committee, the chairman of the finance committee is not accountable to the parish priest, is accountable to the bishop directly. Why?
Oh,
Yes, because where a priest and the finance committee have conflicted, the parish priest had the power to fire the finance committee.
yeah, you
But
can be replaced, yes.
now he
So,
can't.
oh, he doesn't have that power to replace the
Doesn't.
finance
Yes.
team.
No. If he wants to change the finance committee, he has to go to the bishop and to explain why. Yes.
Okay.
In Lilongwe there, a few months ago, the Archbishop of Lilongwe announced that from now onwards, you will expect that audit reports, financial audit reports every year. This is
Yes.
not a this is not a practice in every diocese in Malawi. It's not a practice in every diocese in Africa. But that's the way to go. And that's what the synod is talking about. So you will see that when we talk about transparency, we talk about accountability, all these things at the end of the day, they are not there like to be watchmen or to limit the freedom of a priest or to limit the freedom of the parish council. No. In other words, is to protect them, to protect their image. Because once you have these things, people will trust them. And then the name, the image of their church will be good, will be credible. And this is what the synod is talking about, a new style in the church.
Okay, thank you very much, Father Andrew. Now, on that one, I'm coming to you, Sister Jacinta. Based on what Father Kaufa has explained to us in this program, um, let's now look into the women participation who combine with the youth together because they are part and parcel of the church. We cannot run the church without the women. We cannot run away from the youth. We always say that the youth, they are the leaders of today and tomorrow. And if the church to grow, we still need the youth and even the women to participate. But when you look at into their formation, with the mandate for greater women involvement in our church, in the decision-making bodies. What concrete steps should parishes take immediately? And on the same about the youth, how can we ensure young people can have voice in church discernment, not just the representation when they are being involved in the issues affairs about running the church? Sister Jacinta, the two, women and the youth.
Women and the youth. Okay, thanks, Joseph. My take would be that as now we are talking about inclusivity during this synodal period and implementation time, the youths, the women, most of the time it's being said that they have been left aside. But I think now this is the time to ensure that they are more involved. And how should this be done? When maybe even the parish council is to be formulated, we ensure that there is representation, not only on the men's side, because we know most of the time the majority will be men, but let us include the women, let us include the youths. If we include them, it of course will not include all the women, but if you have 2, 3, 4 women in a certain body, it means the voice of other women are heard through them. If we bring in the youths, it means the voices of the youth are also being heard because like a youth will share out what the youths expect in the church. The women will also express the same. And I think this will still go back to what Father has also explained about inclusivity and accountability. How do we talk about accountability when we exclude others? So this is what I would say as my take, that bring them on board, let them be part of it so that they come with also their decisions, they also come with their ideas. Yes. And just to
Oh,
add in what, not in what you have asked, but in what Father had explained about transparency, accountability, And the last one is evaluation or whatever.
Yes, evaluation.
Evaluation. Yes, I wanted to say that you had mentioned something that sometimes somebody will question, why am I being asked about this? But I think transparency, accountability, and evaluation generally what the synod is trying to tell us is that it should help the Christians, or rather the parishioners, to feel that they are included in what is going on. When you are open to explain what is happening, when you are accountable, especially even when there are some problems, and when you are able to evaluate what has taken place, then people will feel that they are included. They will feel that they are respected, and then they will have confidence in the church as well.
Thank you. For that, we wanted to add on what you have said.
Yeah. Actually, I was trying to look again at the document. What is it saying? In line with what you asked about the women, the youth, I think number 103 up to 104 is talking about ensuring that the structures that we have in the church are really effective, they are really vital, they are really inclusive. So if we have to talk about women and the youth, number 103 to 104 is saying, let us look at our framework, existing framework of operation in the church. One, finance council. How many women are there? What about the youth? Parish council. How many women are there? What about the youth? And then at the diocesan level, at the presbytery level, at the diocesan synod level, there are some dioceses have already done diocesan synods. How much have women been involved? How much have the youth been involved? Not only this, the others who have been mentioned very strongly several times have been people with disabilities, whom we often leave outside, we don't consult them. How much are they consulted? So number 103, 104, and then comes to 106. The 106 specifically says equal attention needs to be given to the membership of the participatory bodies, the ones that I've just mentioned, so as to encourage greater involvement by women, young people, and those living in poverty or those who feel marginalized. So we have to make sure that in all these areas that we are talking about, inclusivity becomes the rule of the game. And in that way, when we avoid some members feeling like, or my voice is not taken in the that's what I wanted to add on that question.
All right, thank you very much, Father Andrew. Indeed, for you that you have just joined us, we are in the program of Synodality here on Luntha Television, and in today's program, I'm joined by Sister Jacinta, who is one of the journalists in charge of Amesia Online, based in Kenya. And also in the program, we have Father Dr. Andrew Kaufa, who is the Deputy Secretary General of Amesia and the Communication Coordinator. And we are looking into this Synodality book, Cast the Net, the Convention of Process Connections. So we have looked at a number of issues, and we are almost going towards the end of our program, but still we have 2-3 topics to tackle. But now, based on your explanation, Sister Jacinta and Father Andrew, it's all about the orientation. So the people that we elect to help us in the church, like for example, we are talking about formation needs. You elect Joseph today to be the parish vice chairperson of Mtimawera Parish in the Archdiocese of Lilongwe. Actually, that's the post that I'm holding. I'm the vice chair, second vice chair for the parish. Now, you talk of the formation. What kind of training do parish council members need to practice so that you should know when you're carrying out your duty? Because you may blame them because you haven't trained them, you haven't given them the full information on what I'm supposed to do as the vice chair for the parish. Yeah, do we have this in our synodality about the needs for formation?
Yeah, it's a nice question. It is reminding me of the Bishop Emeritus of Zomba Diocese, Bishop
Bishop
Alan John.
Jangwe, Alan Jangwe, yes.
While he was still in office, oftentimes when he's doing pastoral visits in parishes, remember that time I was at Sitima Parish in Zomba, and he came and he realized that there was some gaps in the leadership in the parish, and he even us as priests we were complaining, but this is how Christians in the Sitima Parish are. And then he said, but you know what? You cannot blame them. You have to blame ourselves. Have you taught them? I think the synod has taught us that the importance of formation in line with what the Bishop Alan Chankura used to say. Have we taught them? Today I can speak with confidence about synodality, but I can assure you 3 years ago I had no clue what synodality is about. It has been a school for me for the last 3 years. So when you are asking about formation, I totally agree. And actually, when the synod was coming to an end, every delegate at the assembly in Rome was saying the first thing that needs to be done is formation, training, training, training. Let everybody understand what this document is saying. Let everybody understand what synodality is all about. And they emphasized to say the first people who should be trained about synodality, they are themselves, the delegates that went for the synod, which means in Malawi you have Archbishop Tambala. He said, we have to ourselves learn what synodality is about. After that, let's go back and become ambassadors of synodality. Now, the second group that was put as on the limelight is the seminarians. You and me, Joseph, I don't know how old you are, but surely the future is with you and me. The future of the
I'm
church.
still young, I'm in the 40s, yeah.
Our guys who are in the seminary now, they will be the of tomorrow. The young sisters who are in the novitiate in the postulants now, they'll be the sisters of tomorrow and the like. So the church needs to put a lot of effort to give training to these young people so that they grow up with this new style of church. And it's not only them. The Pope Francis recognized that we left out parish priests, especially during the synodal process, even at the assembly in Rome. And he quickly organized a special meeting for parish priests. Father Blair from Malawi represented the priests in Malawi. Why? Because every priest needs to undergo this training on synodality. Now, when the priest has gone through it, the hope is that parish councils will also be trained, the small Christian communities will be trained. So by 2028, if I may put it in that way, the implementation phase, the hope is that by 2028, at least every Catholic will have gone through the school of synodality, and then a new life begins in the Catholic Church.
All right, thank you. Sister Jacinta, you want to add on the formation, the needs for formation in our parishes?
Yes, I would add that it is something which is key right now, because looking at even what we have discussed last about transparency and accountability, if this formation is not done, even the parish priests themselves will not understand why uh, they have to account for what they have, the money they have, the funds that they have received. So this formation is key because it will help each person to really understand the new way of living, the new church that now we want. We are not saying that church has not been synodal, but now it has been, but we are now, it is being emphasized during this synodal period that this is now the real way it should be. So formation is key because it will also help the parishioners, even the lay people, to know that they can now speak. Because sometimes somebody can have idea, but they keep quiet just because those in authority have spoken. But through formation, they will have the knowledge that if you have some information, speak it out, hear it, so that it can be incorporated with what somebody else has said for decision making. So, and as Father is talking about those information, I think those are it's like they're the leaders, the upcoming leaders, even in the church. So they need really to grow up knowing that synodality is the way to go. So
Yeah.
it's necessary.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. But you would agree with me as far as we are talking about the need for formation. Um, there are some resistance and changes in in our aspect, the way we run things. So I want to understand from you. What resistance do you anticipate to these changes, and how can we address fears while moving forward? Wow, there's that need for the formation, but it's still more. There might be some resistance. There are other people that are about not to accept any change. Yes, how are we going to deal with this kind of group that we have in our church, in line with the synodality?
One thing I'm very sure that will affect us is the very fact that we have had a long tradition, many years doing things in this style of which we are now calling it the style of the past, where issues of consultation, issues of common discernment and the like were not at the center of the life of the church. So anybody, and that's why I was asking how old you are, because anybody who is old and who is used to the old system will find it difficult to accept the changes. And
The
interestingly,
Jay-Z.
that's even though they are old, they are very adaptive to the new ideas and to changes. So I still hope that, yes, we have had a long tradition, many years. Even our formation has formed us in this way, but there will be many people who will be responsive. The second one is what has always been said, culture. There are some cultural factors. For instance, the question about women, the question about the youth, where when you go to a Jumuiya or to small Christian community, you will find that women are not speaking. Why? Because in our cultures, women should not speak. In fact, when the men are there or when the husband is there, they are taken like they are being rude and the like. The youth also, they feel like, oh, when our parents are there, we shouldn't speak with this thing like being rude and the like. You can see even in social media, when the youth see that their parents are on Facebook, them they go to Instagram. We don't like to speak to one another in that culturally there's
Yeah.
always so these are some of the things that we shall face. But through formation, as we are discussing here, we should be able to address those things. Formation will address those things.
Okay. Sister Jacinta.
To add something on that, Father, yes, just to add something on what Father has mentioned, especially about culture, looking at what has been given to us in the synodal document, when I was talking about the steps that should be taken in discernment, I think they can still also apply because we are being told that these steps may differ also depending on the various places and traditions. So maybe the way we may do ours here in Kenya or in Africa may differ how some people may do it in their place, respecting their culture, but implementing what the synod requires.
All right, thank you very much. We're going towards the end of our program because we have been here for some time now. You know, when you talk of economic or dimension, when you go through the documents, they mention something including other Christian denominations in some consultation. How might this work practically? Is it practical on that?
One thing that the synod also helped us to realize is the fact that in as much as Jesus prayed for unity of all who will be his disciples, all the believers. There have been a lot of moments when we have not journeyed together with members of other churches. Now, in the past, in the 60s, in the 70s, after the Second Vatican II, there was a lot of movement for the Catholics to journey together with members of other churches. But at that time, if I'm not mistaken, people were still thinking in that idea that one day all Christians will come back and become one church. I think that has been realized that it may not be a reality. I
It's
mean,
a person.
yeah. But that we can journey together on areas of common interest, that has been true. And I think when we talk about in Malawi, for instance, you have the Public Affairs Committee, you have the Malawi Council of Churches,
Of
and then you
churches.
see during the elections how some programs, churches, they unite and they take a common stand. Let's educate, give civic education to our Christians, to our people, and the churches journey together. During the Lent, we always do the way of the cross together. But
Together,
beyond
yeah.
that, we had the Christian Space Committee, which was also doing what Catholic Development Commission does, putting boreholes, building schools and hospitals where churches, these things were being done together. People of different churches, but all we could profess one faith in Jesus Christ. Now, synodality is inviting us to see within our way of living our faith, at what, in which areas can we journey with members of other churches? And during the synod, it was interesting because they made sure that the members of other churches were invited for the synod. So we had Pentecostals and I don't know from other churches, Presbyterians, when we had a community meeting in Addis Ababa. In Rome, we had the
The authors.
Orthodox, we had the Anglicans, we also had other members of the Christian community. They are not Catholics, but as the Synod has said, listening to one another, you also learn from others. You also hear how others look at the Catholic Church, and that helps us to improve. So even in terms of what we are discussing here today, you will see that there are many things which we can learn as Christians from other churches. Even the issues of accountability and transparency, there is a lot the Catholic Church can learn from members of other churches.
Thank you, Father Andrew. If I get you clearly, it's all about ecumenism, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
All right. Yeah. So we were
Um,
coming closer. Yes, Sister Jacinta, you want to say something?
just to add on what Father has said,
Mm.
I remember when we were when the process was still in the continental stage, we had some non-Catholics who joined in the assembly, or rather in the meeting. One was Presbyterian from
Presbyterian, yes,
Presbyterian
Presbyterian.
Church, and one was a Muslim, I think so. But I
Mm.
remember when one of them mentioned that when they were approached to come for the meeting and to meet with the Catholics, they felt that they were going back to the roots of the church, where we do things communally to build peace in the society, because Catholics are not isolated in the community. We are staying together with these other denominations, and so bringing them together so that they also share their ideas when something that is going to help the community uh, it comes up, then they feel that we are going back to the roots of the church, where we journey together and we work together to build that community and bring peace. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So, lastly, on personal responsibility, as an ordinary Catholic, how are you called to participate in this conventional process beyond just attending the mass? Others think like if they have gone to church, just attend the mass, it ends there. Based on the synodality document that we are discussing, how can one ordinary person be called to participate in this conventional process?
For me, I think, just as we said from the beginning, synodality is about the mission. And when we talk about the mission, every baptized person has a role to play in the task of evangelization. So
Thank you very much, Father Andrew and the Sister Jacinta. And then there we have come to the end of our program today. We were reflecting much on the final document of the Synod of the Synodality, cost of the net, cast the net rather, the convention of the process convention. And then we had Father Andrew Kaufa, who is Deputy Secretary General of AMESIA and Communication Coordinator, and also we had the Sister Jacinta, who is one of the Catholic journalists, who is also in charge of AMESIA Online. I'm sure we'll meet again on the next episode, if God willing. It has been a pleasure hosting you, and I wish you all the best and good luck there in your daily life and activity. And we appreciate for the role you are playing on this synodality and the church in Africa.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Karibu. Asante
Asante.
sana. Yeah, karibuni. Asante sana. Thank you very much. Then we have come to the end of our program. My name is Joseph Manoka. I'm wishing you all the best and keep on watching Luntha Television, and a lot of programs are still coming on your way. Until next time, I wish you all the best. May God bless you and keep on watching Luntha Television. Bye-bye.
To walk as one, in communion all as one. Participate, you see, in the mission of the church.